Did they make
No,
contact?
I don't know. It's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Right
Look at
there.
this.
Moves
Wow.
him to win it. Carl Edwards bump and dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again. The bump and run.
There it is.
Didn't mean to really turn around, meant to rally his cage up.
Oh, yeah, welcome to the Bumper Run Podcast. I'm your host, Michael D. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had a Denny Hamlin Koch 600 type of weekend. It was a long weekend. It was a long race. We got tons and tons to talk about. But first, fellas, how are you doing? Oh, first, make sure you like, share, subscribe. You know the deal by now. Fellas, how you doing? Statman Matt, Daytona Ron, you enjoy the long weekend?
Wasn't long enough, though. Wasn't long enough. You can always, that holiday you get, you always need the day after. And I didn't get that. I would have loved it, but it was a great weekend. I enjoyed myself.
Dude, I was so jealous of the people at work today that took today off and made it an extra long holiday. I should have did that. You got to remember for later on, Labor Day coming up at the end of the summer. How about you, Matt? How's your weekend? I saw Daytona Ron live in person this weekend, but I didn't get a chance to see you. How is everything going? You enjoy the race? You enjoy the movies this weekend?
Fantastic. Thanks for teeing me up, buddy, because you knew I was going to talk about it. So thank you for everyone who's listening to the show. We tricked you. We're not going to talk about racing. This is going to be a full hour-and-a-half review of Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, let's jump into it. So I was a big fan of the first Top Gun as a kid. That Days of Thunder just went back and forth. In fact, I got in trouble as a child for calling my brother a dickhead because I heard it in Top Gun. I was like 7. My mother's like, "Where'd you hear that word?" I'm like, "Top Gun." She was like, "Oh, well, I bought the VHS for you, so that's kind of on me." But yeah, you went to see Maverick. How was it, bro?
It was awesome. It was so good. I know I was telling you guys a little about it before we started recording, but to go back to Friday, I had made myself a promise that like at some point during this long weekend, I'm going to see Top Gun Maverick. And I had just bought 2 tickets on Friday for Monday, not telling my wife. Well, I mentioned it to her. I was like, "Hey, we're going to see Top Gun on Monday."
Yeah.
So I haven't even seen the first one. So I'm like, okay, well, like, what kind of husband would I be if I just let my wife go her entire life without seeing Top Gun?
I know, right? Like,
So-
you gotta see the source material to see the sequel, you know?
So yeah, well, that's what I mean. So naturally, that gave us something to do Friday night. I said, we're watching it. We've got to watch the first one. We've got to set the table right for you. So when we get to the movies on Monday, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
So we did. We watched it. She liked it. At least she maybe pretended like she liked it.
Yeah.
And then we went yesterday to see it, and it didn't disappoint. It was the movie of the year. I'm trying not to overstate it, but it was everything you could have possibly wanted in a Top Gun sequel.
Now, did you have to see the first one to understand the sequel? Or do they do enough flashbacks where you kind of get the gist of what you need to know?
They do enough flashbacks to give you the information that you need, so you don't need to see the first one, but seeing the first one absolutely helps.
Yeah. You know what? So I want a Top Gun prequel in Vietnam with fucking Pete Mitchell's dad. You know? I want to know that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was everything that you could have hoped for. I mean, the storyline, the plot, it was perfect.
Did they go
So
to?
it was kind of like the race on Sunday night. It's perfect.
Just
everything
like-
you could have wanted.
Right.
I tell you.
Well, there were some things that I could have done without throughout that race, but we'll get into it.
I mean, yeah, I understand. It is very interesting race to talk about. Should we jump right into it?
Let's do it.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Let's jump into NASCAR news. Man, I'm gonna struggle with this one right here. So I forget, did we talk about Trackhouse's Project 91 car last week?
No. The news broke afterwards, I believe.
So they teased that they're gonna have a third entry, Trackhouse Racing, and they're leaving it up to other forms of motorsports drivers to come over and race. And they announced the first driver who's going to take it. It's Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi Räikkönen. So behind the velvet rope, behind the scenes,
I sent you a YouTube video that literally said it for 6 minutes.
I've
been waiting for that moment for 4 days.
I practice how to say Kimi Räikkönen, whatever. I practiced it a million times after you sent that video. Completely forgot about it over the weekend. Did the NASCAR news today and go, fuck. I'm not going to be able to say this shit for at all. Anyways, Kimi Räikkönen is going to be running the Project 91 car at Watkins Glen coming up this summer. Of course, he is a former F1 champion and a no stranger to stock car racing. He ran for KBM for a handful of races in trucks and Xfinity. What do you guys think about the whole Project 91 car deal with Trackhouse and a former F1 champion coming over? Apparently, speaking of Top Gun, they call him the Iceman on the F1 circuit. So how do you guys feel about this one?
I love it. I just think now is like they're jumping on an opportunity and a moment in time when this could be the best thing going, because motorsports in general, I was thinking about checkers and wreckers for this week, and I'm like, man, I go, motorsports in general might get my, my checkers, just because the Indy 500, the crowd was absolutely phenomenal. And, the Koch 600 crowd was phenomenal. Everyone, F1 series is booming. Just motorsports in general. So, like, them opening up this ride for us to kind of merge the sports and get more eyes on our sport of NASCAR, I don't think there's a better time than now in the present to kind of meld these series together in a way as far as the fan bases go, because they're all unique in their own ways. And I think instead of us versus them, it should be, motorsports. That's what we should be fighting for as fans. And I think this will help tremendously help merge motorsports in general, not just NASCAR to F1 and Indy. I think anybody coming from Rallycross, I saw little snippets of the like the trailer of this too. So like they're going from all sorts of racing, not just the top tier ones. They're going to get drivers from all sorts of international, different countries, get them over here. And I think the more eyes on the sport, the better it is for us. So in motorsports in general, I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, no stranger. We're not the biggest F1 fans, to be honest with you, but we all believe that just the growth of motorsports in general is good for all motorsports, and any sort of crossover. But if you are a fan of F1, you want to give our buddy Puff a follow, friend of the show, Puff. Check him out on Twitter, Puffavelli. He actually called that Kimi was going to be the first driver. He called it out on Twitter. He's got a podcast too, NEPA Picks on Twitter, if you want to check out his betting podcast, and they talk a little F1 on there too. So got to give a friend of the show a shout out there.
Do a little cross promotion with him. Have him on the show. Do some NASCAR picks with us.
Yeah, maybe when this Project 91 car takes off at Watkins Glen, we'll have him come on, give us a little heads up on what Kimi's all about and the Iceman and whatnot. But for now, I'm looking forward to it. Loving to see a little bit of crossover and stuff. It kind of reminded me, you remember there was like kind of this boom of road course ringers for the longest time in the 90s and 2000s, but they're always kind of in like garbage cars, So I feel like this is the first time we might see like a road course ringer in a worthy car.
I've always, Whitey, that's a great point, because I've always said that. Every week I'm like, oh, here's Boris said in the, the 98 Burger King car for whoever you don't even know. And it's like, you're not going to see his true skill and talent in that ride. You know what I mean? I always said that. I want to see those guys, those road course ringers, in some top-notch equipment and see what they could do at the highest level of our sport of NASCAR. That's a great point. I would love at Trackhouse, man, what a team to start this, because they are on fire.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely one of the best teams in the garage. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the Pickle Lane segment too. Next piece of news though, we talk about TV deals a lot lately because we are getting close to renegotiations with NASCAR and Fox and NBC and everything. And according to Adam Stern on ESPN, might be interested in NASCAR again. Quote, "We're really happy with F1 being our flagship right now. Obviously, we know that NASCAR is in particular is a conversation that will likely happen in some shape or form going forward, end quote. So it looks like they're interested in at least talking about the possibilities of NASCAR returning to ESPN come contract time. I know I saw, what was it, Pistol Pete Pistone from the Morning Drive on Sirius XM Channel 90 NASCAR Radio. He said he would like to see Fox take the first quarter, ESPN take a summer stretch, and NBC take just the playoffs. What do you guys think about that? Maybe splitting it up between 3 different networks and channels there.
If it's ESPN and NBC, I'll be fine with that. I want Fox out of here, done with. They've already burned my, like, there's no going back for me with Fox. They've already done too much damage in my eyes. Yeah. And it's just, I have such a, like, every time I just see that little symbol come on the screen, it just makes me so, like, angry. Like, the damage is done for me with Fox.
I think we have 2 races left with Fox, and then we make the switch over to NBC and USA Network. So we got this week and next week in Sonoma, the Nashville coming up, where we're out of the foxhole for a while now. Speaking of Top Gun there, the foxhole, I don't know. No pun intended, but it just happened like that.
I like it.
No, I agree. I'm so sick of Fox.
Eric nailed it. They've done too much irreversible damage at this point. And, I know we sound like a broken record, and I know we're probably becoming that podcast that bashes Fox that everyone else does. And I know it's low hanging fruit at this point, but they're just so bad that it's impossible to ignore all the mistakes that they make on a week to week basis. And so, at this point, like, get Fox out of here. Like, I don't want to see them, even if they have 10 races and then ESPN gets 10 races and then NBC gets 16 races or whatever. Like, no, get Fox out of there and let's figure it out elsewhere.
Yeah. Take Larry Mack and take Mike Joy, put him on ESPN and get rid of everybody else. Jamie McMurray's been really good lately, though. I think he's doing a great job.
Fantastic. The pit reporters, Jamie Little's fantastic.
Jamie Little's fantastic. It's just the production.
It's the production. Yeah.
No, totally agree. Take all the on-air talent, except for Clint Boyer, who I like, but, like, I'm kind of over the shtick. Take all of them, bring them over to ESPN, have a nice transition, and then just have the ESPN producers take care of the product. Speaking of gas, Shell and Pennzoil extending their contract with Penske. Usually I ignore sponsorship news, but I feel like this was a pretty big one to cover because we've seen, M&M's and Mars leaving the sport at the end of the season. We haven't seen a whole lot of big sponsors kind of come in and fill that year-long sponsorship role. And I just want to give a little appreciation to Shell, Pennzoil. They've been around since forever. I mean, they used to have Michael Waltrip, back in the 30 car. What a beautiful paint scheme that was, man, holding up the little diecast. But they've been in the sport for a long, long time. Glad to see them continue to be in it. How about you guys? How you feel about that?
Fantastic to see.
Yeah, they're one of the OGs.
Yeah. It don't matter who's driving the car. It's just good to see those sponsors that have been with the sport for so long stick around, and it's good to see.
Yeah.
And not only, like, with Penske, like, they're with Penske everywhere. They're in I think they run on Indy too. I think they sponsor over there. Like, so they're spread out over multiple different series is Pennzoil and Shell.
But yeah, that's all I have for NASCAR news so far, unless you guys saw some breaking stuff in the afternoon that I might have missed.
Not that I can remember, no.
No, and since I feel like it's gonna be a long show. We got a long race to talk about. No NASCAR history this week. Skip that. Jump right into the trucks. Ross Chastain. We'll talk about him in the pick lane, but he got it done in trucks after a dramatic finish between Ryan Preece and Carson Hocevar. Ryan Preece not too happy. I don't know if you guys saw the move. Did you guys see what happened at the end of the truck race there?
I did not. I did not get a chance to see that.
So the clip was going out on social media. Ryan Preece actually got in front of the camera and was like, see that, kids like watching at home who want to drive a NASCAR, don't do stuff like that. Carson Hocevar going for his first win ever in the bottom lane. Ryan Preece at the top lane. Carson kind of wiggled up, got into him. They both wrecked out, and Ryan Preece wasn't too happy about it. I thought it was good, hard, clean, like not clean, but good, hard racing just one of those racing deals, especially for your first win.
He overdrove the truck a little bit. He lost control of it, going for his first ever, National Series win, and he lost control of it. Does it suck for Priest? Wrong place, wrong time, sure. But Carson Hocevar, like if I'm in his position, he's been so close so often this year that I totally get that why he was going as hard as he was. He wants that win. I get it.
Yeah,
Just from listening to you guys, it seems like Priest, who's not a regular, he doesn't understand the Truck Series and what was happening. I think he was just thrown into a wolf's den and not really knew what had been happening and like how those truck races go. That's trucking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like every week when you watch the trucks, there's someone that dives in way too hard, watches up the track, gets into somebody. That's every week. So maybe like he just wasn't used to that in a little bit. But Carson, man, he's how many second places does he have in the last 6 weeks? Right. He's been right there, like you said, Matt. And he's hungry for it. He wants it. And when you're that close, I have to agree. I probably would have dove in there and run it down too. But there's a lot of people that try to make that move, especially this year, and it hasn't stuck.
No.
Eric, you're so right about that, though. Like with the Truck Series in particular, like on a late race restart when everything is on the line,
everything's out the window.
It's usually the front two guys are the ones who get home.
Right.
Because they're just battling it out, and it's amazing for fans. But it's almost always those front two that just destroy each other. So much fun.
Yeah, I think Ryan Priest is used to the Cup Series where the guys are a little bit more seasoned and veteran driving skills and everything. He's
a little bit more awareness and yeah.
Because how old is Carson Hocevar anyways?
19?
Exactly.
I think 19.
He's still figuring it out, so you can't even blame him for that. I just thought the speech at the end on pit road during his interview was fantastic. Eric, I'll send it to you on Twitter. You'll enjoy that one. Saturday, Xfinity Series race. Big congratulations to Matt, his driver, Josh Berry, winning by 18 seconds, something like that. But it was
dominated.
It was still
race.
Exciting to the end, though. You hear 18 seconds, you go, man, that couldn't have been exciting, but it was still a fantastic and exciting race. Did you guys get a chance to see any of that? I know, Eric, you were at like a golf tournament, right?
Yeah, I was at a benefit for one of my buddies, Christopher Bone, who passed away, and we had a golf tournament with him, and a little benefit went up with the boys, and great turnout for that. Bunch of people went up there. My first time golfing, so all day Saturday I was out on the golf course, trying to learn how to swing a club at a little white ball. So I did not get a chance to see the Xfinity race.
No, you missed a great one, man. It was a barn burner, especially between teammates. Justin Allgaier and Josh Berry kind of like really giving it to each other at the end. What did you think about that, Matt, being a junior motorsports fan in general?
Awesome. Junior Motorsports just dominated that race. They finally got their first win in Charlotte, their home track, and just good to see.
I didn't realize that was the first win in Charlotte for Junior Motorsports. That's pretty big.
Yep. And Josh Berry, his second win of the season. So just, I was happy to see it. He's coming into his own, man. It's so good to see, like when he can run a clean race and when he doesn't get caught up in some of the bullshit, he really is able to flex his muscles and show what kind of just wheelman that he is. And I think, for as quote unquote old as he is, I think he's got a bright future in NASCAR. And if Junior Motorsports can only figure out a way to make the leap into the Cup Series, that might be their guy right there with Josh Berry.
Oh, absolutely. I think we all are big fans of Josh Berry and just his story in general, waiting so long for the opportunity and just seizing it. Even last year, running part-time and winning races, like that doesn't happen to rookies. Yeah. Besides Ty Gibbs, it's ready. Insane. We have he is ready. Oh yeah, for sure. It's funny. We have two of the best rookies in Xfinity in Josh Berry and Ty Gibbs winning races right off the bat, running part-time, and they couldn't be further apart in age from your standard rookies. Or personality too. Well, yeah, we'll ignore that. But it was definitely exciting. And speaking of firsts, a first for one, Denny Hamlin, your Cup Series winner. The Pulsar Denny led 3 times for 15 laps to win the Koch 600, his first ever Koch 600. And he said he was a Coca-Cola family driver for 18 years, and it took him this long to get it done. And
if you pay attention and you like making money, one of us on this show predicted that Denny Hamlin was going to win that race last week, and that person is our host, Michael D. White. Congrats on the prediction there, buddy.
It was me. I picked the winner. In fact, I thought it was funny. We all picked winners so far. Eric's picked 2 winners. Matt, his first win was with Denny at Richmond. He picked Denny to win Richmond. I picked Denny to win Charlotte just because I felt like Denny's the veteran to win here, you know, and he got it done. So if you enjoy making money, you know, listen to our picks and maybe throw a little bit on each one every week. Eventually you'll hit, because we're hitting. Eric just hit last week with the All-Star winner and Ryan Blaney. And then he hit 3 weeks ago with Chase Elliott at Dover. So we're getting hot on the trail.
If you're paying attention too, and you go back and you look at like all the ones that we picked, even the ones that like we didn't predict winning like correctly, they're having good races until something happens. Like, we're not
for
picking,
sure.
We're not picking somebody who's like, oh my God, he ran 17th the whole time. Like, we're picking dudes who have good legit chances at winning the race, and something just happens as far as bad luck goes.
Absolutely. So stick with us till the end of the show. We'll go over our betting picks for the week, and check out YouTube on Saturdays. Matt tries to get a betting video in every week. Of course, this weekend was a holiday weekend and we forgot. So
just a little heads up on that. Might need your assistance on that this whole month, Whitey. The month of June, every single weekend, we've got something going on. So it's gonna be a little busy. Life is about to get pretty hectic for me, but yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll get it out for you.
All right, maybe it'll be Michael D. White's picks on Saturdays, and I'll give you all the numbers you need. I'll get the stats from Matt, and we'll figure it all out. Do a little live production meeting. So make sure you share or like and subscribe on YouTube if you want to see those betting videos. But back to the Koch 600, man. Just a great race, a long race. 5 hours, 13 minutes, 8 seconds. We saw 18 cautions for 90 laps. That's almost a fourth of the race. 31 lead changes among 13 different drivers. Tons and tons of passing. Your top 5: Dennis Hamlin, James Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Chase Briscoe, and Christopher Bell. And I'm telling you, watch out for Bell. He's due for a win coming up. Speaking of betting, he's had a bunch of top 5s and top 10s in the last couple races. But just a great race, in my opinion. I don't know about you guys, but you want to jump right into the race grades?
Hell yeah.
I feel like usually we start with Matt, so let's start with Eric this week. We'll switch it up a little bit. What's your race grade, Eric?
I'm going to do something a little different, and it's the first time I'm going to do it. I'm going to give this race an A++. This gets a double plus this week because it just had everything that I could have ever imagined in a race. It not only the race, though, the whole weekend in general. I usually have people at my house. I had a great crowd of people show up at my house.
Great party.
And you know, to watch the race and just the whole environment in general, it amplified me watching that race and just made it that much better to feel the energy of everybody in there when something went crazy and everyone's yelling. And, you know, it reminded me a lot of the beginning of the season, that Auto Club in Vegas races. Lead changes in the 30s, high 20s. The drivers and the teams at 13. It just had those magical moments back here at race 14 of the season. We were wondering if this car could keep up.
Yeah.
And after those first 4 races, we were all like, how many more A's can we hand out? And here we are. Here I am, week 14, giving out an A++. And it's just like, keep giving me more, NASCAR. And, you know, it was just all day long. You know, it was a long race, like you said, but it was exciting. There wasn't a bat, no matter where you were position wise, you were in a battle with somebody.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if you were in the lead or in 15th and 17th and 20th, you were in a battle. You know, it was just hard to control these cars on Sunday night. And these drivers, they kept showing the white gloves, trying to get a hold of that steering wheel. And, I think we had, I'm pretty close to 10 cars spin on their own. That just goes to show how hard this car is to drive, how tricky it is, and how close to the edge that these drivers have to push it every single lap for 600 miles and keep your tire wear down. And, I just enjoyed it all. It was a phenomenal race with battles all day long. And, the finish on top of it, like that was just a cherry on the top. And I couldn't have asked for anything more.
So a couple things. One, I have a stat for you guys. I'm pulling Statman Matt. I got, because we are handing out a lot of A's, but one thing I want to say, like with all the the tire issues and just the cars spinning out and stuff, for years and years they say the World 600, the Koch 600, truly a test between man and machine. Which one will break down first or whatever. And then over the last couple of years, it kind of wasn't that test of machine, but this one truly was like a test of the equipment, and I think it went great. But to the stats, Jeff Gluck does a poll every week, and I do feel like we're handing out A's left and right, but it's because they're deservingly so. So 90.6% of people polled on Jeff Gluck's was the Koch 600 good race. Said yes. That's the 22nd member of the 90% club of 240 races. So we're right up there in the top 10% there. And it's the fourth 90% plus race that was a good race on the poll this year. All four were intermediate tracks, which, like, compared to the last couple seasons where everyone's like, quote unquote, cookie cutter tracks are garbage, like we shouldn't be going there, the racing's awful. Like, our four best races so far are on intermediate 1.5 tracks, or like, the 2 miler at Auto Club. Like, we're seeing great racing. So it's hard not to give it an A++ when it's the Koch 600 and it's such a grand event. How about you, Matt? What's your race grade? I'm assuming right on the same page here.
Honestly, it's not, but this is more of a me issue than a race issue. I love the race. The race deserves an A+.
Yeah.
I gave it a B+, which is still a good grade. Don't get me wrong. Where it was my fault is because for about 45 minutes there, the race lost me, and it wasn't the race's fault. The race was great.
Yeah.
We had our drama, we had our excitement. Candidly, I'm a huge Celtics fan. The Boston Celtics were in a game 7 to go to. If they won, they were going to go to the finals, to the NBA finals. They won, so I was kind of celebrating that, calling my dad, talking about that for a little bit. So I kind of stepped away from the race for a little bit. Yeah, I had to do the balance, the juggling act of race game. So again, was not the race's fault. It was just the way I kind of consumed it, was just spotty, just bad timing with two things going on at the same time. But I loved everything I saw. I was able to, get back into my race mind and be able to watch the last 50 laps or whatever. It was phenomenal. We had, like Eric said, we had cars losing it on their own. It was man versus machine. We saw that 17 of Chris Buescher flip because of its own wheel digging into the grass. It was a wild flip. We saw battles. We saw, Austin Dillon. I'm wearing my number 3 Dale Earnhardt Sr. Shirt. For 2 reasons I'm wearing this shirt. 1, because it's freaking awesome. And 2, because the way Austin Dillon came out of nowhere into the frame of the TV, dropped down to the bottom groove, made the pass on the back stretch, and then got wrecked out coming out of 4. That was like that 15 seconds of racing. Like, what was that? New tires? I'm assuming it had to have been new tires versus old tires. Like, where did that come from Austin Dillon? That little run that he did there.
Well,
just got to run.
They had runs all night long that put other drivers in some pretty bad situations. Right. So later in the race, the high line started coming in and kind of was the line that a lot of the drivers who were fast, you weren't ripping up your tires as much up there, but the run off you would get on the high side, man, if someone in front of you was side-by-side battling and you were alone on the top coming off with a run, you closed on those guys in front of you way, way faster than they even imagine. And a lot of times you would get to their bumper and boom, cut to the inside real quick because you had to. Right. If you didn't, you would add a check-up slam on your brakes. So like some of these drivers, they would get these huge, huge runs on the high side. And sometimes you have nowhere to go with it and you have to check up. But that time, hey, race is on the line. AD, he didn't check up. He put that car down on that line and he went for it.
Full send.
And you know what? If he didn't get taken out, that I think he wins that race. Like he was gone. But you know, that's again, like it was
I mean, same thing as Hocevar, though. I think Dylan, he just drove in too far, washed up into Larson, and there was the run. It was a great run, but it was too good of a run, essentially.
So I thought he caused the accident. I went back and watched it a couple times when someone was like, no, it was because they got put 4 wide. If you watch it back, Denny Hamlin comes up from underneath Austin Dillon, and Ross Chastain is on the top of Kyle Larson, and they're all coming out of turn 4 side by side, and they pushed Larson and Dillon into each other, basically. Like they just ran out of real estate.
Yeah. Right, because they had such a run because
it was just
Austin
insane.
Dillon had to check up so he didn't take out Larson. And so when they tagged up, Larson's obviously slowed down. So those front 2 cars are going way slower than that packed 4 wide coming at them. What do you do at that point? Like you're just done for. If that wasn't at that stage in the race, I don't think any of that happens because you're not going to see 4 wide at that time. And then they reshuffle out and everything is smooth. But since the timing of that and everyone was racing to get up there for that win, man, as much as like I hated seeing it, like the wreck happen. Oh, Matt, you're right. That move gave me chills watching that happen.
It was. We had more big ones in the Koch 600 than we did in this previous Talladega race.
We did.
So we had two big ones.
Yeah.
In this race, 20 cars, half the field got wrecked out on Sunday night's race.
Go back and watch that whole wreck happen again. And pay attention to Kyle Busch on the high line and the wreck avoidance. Like he avoided the whole entire disaster in front of him with Kyle Larson spinning everything like the GOAT. Like he did some amazing things, like making his way through that.
All day he did amazing things. He spun twice. Like he just had a rough day, and like he ended up coming back and you know got a P2 fighting for the win after. You know, you spin a few times and you have a rough race, man. And normally Kyle Busch folds in those situations where he'll get too mad at his crew chief or his pit crew and this car is shit. I already got into a wreck and then you know he usually I think he talks himself out of it every once in a while. But man, did he he gripped up, elbows up and gave her hell there.
I tell you what, Matt is wearing the number 3 RCR shirt. And we saw a couple classic RCR Dale Earnhardt moves, even on a Tyler Reddick. I don't know if you guys saw this at the end. I was super excited about it. I was freaking out. He made a legit pass in the grass. Well, technically turf, but he passed Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Michael McDowell coming to the line in the grass. Like fucking mind blowing. Did you see the in-car of that?
It was nice.
Oh,
it was nice.
Was that Reddick or was that his
that was Reddick screaming.
Sounded like Reddick.
It was
passing the grass.
And
passing the grass.
And then he's like, ha 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 ha. Like he fucking got away with it, which he really did. So that was fun after a rough day. But I gotta disagree with Matt with the B+. I gotta give it an A. In fact, I'm gonna give it an A+. It was a long race. 5+ hours didn't feel like it at all. I don't know about you guys, but like I felt like it went by super quick. And there's just so much action on track all night long. Like it was hard for me to even begin to write my notes for the show today because there was so much stuff. NBC puts out their extended highlights every week. Usually it's like 18 minutes. This time is 45 minutes long. You know, I watched that trying to refresh some of the things in the beginning. And like Eric said, you know, he had a banging party up at the house there in the garage. I was hanging out there and we were feeding off each other's energy. And speaking of wrecks, you remember the wreck? I think it was Suarez that caused it or something, But Martin Truex,
Chase Briscoe got up into Suarez and caused Suarez to spin. He was just sideways on the track, and everyone just plowed right into him.
Yeah, and it took out like a lot of great guys, especially in our fantasy. I think Kurt Busch got taken out. Here, hold on. I have it in my notes.
Yeah, the 23 spun in that wreck as well.
Yeah, Kurt Busch.
William Byron got collected up in that
got
one.
taken out.
That one crushed me because I had William Byron in my fantasy. I had William Byron on this show. I had William Byron in some of my daily fantasy lineups.
He had a car.
I had such a gut feeling that it was going to be William. Two guys I had a gut feeling about, Suarez and Byron, and both of them had rocket ships until they got
really
caught up in the bullshit.
It was Blaney that spun. It was the second time Blaney spun. It wasn't Suarez's accident. Suarez's accident was later on.
Suarez was later on, yeah.
But like Martin Truex Jr., another guy, like we got real nervous because I think we all had Martin Truex Jr. on our fantasy lineups this week. And his wreck avoidance was just amazing. Like he just turned in the corner at the perfect moment to avoid it all.
And plus, Colin was there in the garage, who's a Truex fan.
Yeah.
One of our buddies just getting into the sport, and he's like, "Oh my God, did he make it through? Did he make it through?" We're all waiting for the replay. It was like, and then like someone pointed out, I was like, "He made it through! He made it through!" Yeah.
Matt,
it's always such a relief. When you see your driver make it through, it's a feeling that like you can't describe to anybody. You're just like, oh, okay, thank God.
We're
like,
still alive. We're still alive.
And like Matt, the garage erupted. You should have heard it. It was a great time. So I think with that, just a great race in general, plus the vibe of like hanging out with your buddies. Oh, that reminds me, dude. Sorry, ADD radio right now. I was driving through town in DuPont, the Brick House Bar. This is just for us. Sundays, they have a sign, NASCAR Sundays, $2 drafts. I forget what the beer on draft is. That's $2.
That's literally going to be like 3 minutes from my house. Don't tell me that.
I'm just saying, I think we got to get
the Brick House is bumping now, dude. They open up, they got a crowd there now.
Okay.
I think we got to go one Sunday.
Too bright in there for me, though. Too bright. They have the lights on too high.
Yeah, no, it is a little weird when the bar's a little too bright. You feel weird about a drinking in the afternoon, you know what I mean? But I'm just throwing it out there in case the Harding hole's a little too warm. It's getting hot. It was like 92 degrees out today. Go sit in a cool bar and enjoy some NASCAR with some other race fans. Hey, maybe we'll go there and spread the word about the podcast. But either way, best Koch 600 I think I've seen in a long time. We were seeing 4 wide all day long, and I was all jacked up, so I give it an A+. Do you guys want to jump into the checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
Hell yeah.
All right, Matt, you want to give us your checkers and wreckers first?
Yeah, absolutely. My checkers goes to, and one of you guys might have already given him a checkers earlier, within the past couple of weeks, but he deserves it. My checkers goes to Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah.
Another top 10 finish. He finished 7th for him, and he had a great race for Ricky Stenhouse. He's been keeping it really clean lately. So actually, going back to the race, he had 119 quality passes, which was good for 3rd among drivers on Sunday night.
Okay, passing a lot of cars.
It's a lot of cars. He spent 68.3% of his race running inside the top 15. So almost 70% of his race was spent inside the top 15. He had a 79.9 driver rating, which was 12th best in the field. And again, it's his 4th straight top 10 for Ricky. So he's keeping it clean. He's figuring it out. And we all know he's a wheelman. I mean, he's an Xfinity Series champion.
Oh, yeah.
He's I don't know how many championships he's won in, dirt races and dirt series and everything. He's a really, really good driver. He's just been super aggressive. He's known for being super aggressive. And I think he's just finally starting to calm down. I mean, he's at that age now, his early 30s, where I'm pretty sure it's his early 30s now, where he might be starting to put things together here. And I think he's primed to rip off a win. I know it's a far cry from 8th and 9th to, running first, but he has had a couple second place runner-up races this year already. And it's not out of the realm of possibility to say that Ricky Stenhouse might win a race in the regular season and get himself into the playoffs.
Yeah, for me, it seems like the Ricky Stenhouse name, who's gonna, first one to crash, lap 2, is he gonna make, there was so much ball busting and trolling that's in the past, I think now. I
think so.
I don't really find myself going that route anymore or saying it because I can't, because he's shutting me up with the way he's driving on the racetrack now. And he's taking care of his equipment, like you said. I love that Ricky is finally coming around and maybe coming into his own. And he might have found something with this new car, but it's always great to see someone turn it around and figure it out.
I'm going to say it. I'm a huge closet Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Me too.
fan.
Me too.
I really like him. He seems like a cool dude off the track too, you know?
Yeah.
He seems like he's got it. I've actually, because of his former sponsorship aligns with the company that I work for, I've actually gotten to meet him a couple times, and he's a cool, I mean, nothing, you know, we didn't go out to dinner or anything, but just a couple seconds of one-on-one.
Like quick meet and greet really deals. Nice. No, I agree. I'm definitely a closet Ricky Stenhouse fan, and I've been saying it on this podcast since last year. I think he really came into his own with protecting his equipment, you know, and finishing it. Ever since he moved over to JTG Doherty, just moved out of that Roush camp, he kind of had to, because they don't have the money to wreck cars every week. You know what I mean? And I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast. I know we definitely talked about it in our text messages with each other, but like a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, Ricky Stenhouse needs to get it together. Like he was finishing in like 34th and 33rd, you know, like get it together. Because compared to last year, he was finishing in the top 25, you know, like consistently in the top 25, top 20 every week last season. And then I told you, Eric, I was like, oh, you know, Ricky said like it's hard without a teammate now to bounce things off of. He's having troubles. And you're like, you know, fuck that. He needs to get it together, kind of. And then sure enough, like the next week he did. He got second at Dover. He got 8th last week. He got 8th the week before that. And he got 7th this week. So in the last 4 races, he's finished in the top 10. And you're right. He's run up front, like super consistent. So Matt, I definitely agree with your checkers on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. this week. How about your records? What's your records for the weekend?
Listen, I'm a fan of his, so I'm allowed to trash him when it warrants it. My records goes to Chase Elliott.
Yeah,
he overdrove turn 2 after he had the dominating car in the race on Sunday night. He smashed the wall. He knocked out his rear toe link. And then what I think happened is that he purposely spun trying to pull out the caution. That's not the first time he's done that before. And then he couldn't keep up. He had the DVP, the disabled vehicle policy, took him out of the race after what didn't look like I've seen him knock the wall down a lot harder than that and almost win go on to almost win races after that. So he just tapped it at the wrong spot, I guess. And, and it was right after Clint Boyer. I know you guys, were at the party. I don't know if you were able to, hear the commentary at all, but like literally right before that, Clint Boyer was saying, I like Chase Elliott in this race because he's so patient, because that's why he's able to win races, because he's so patient. He's a lot like Jimmy Johnson was when, you're patient and you figure out a race, you let the race come to you. Yeah. And that's what Chase does. But Chase also often gets a little too aggressive, a little too early into races. And that's what happened. And it's just he had a really good car, and it was just heartbreaking to see that happen to him. So Chase Elliott, you need to get it together.
I tell you what, Clint Boyer is the biggest jinx. Anytime he brings up a driver running really well, or he likes him on this race, like the next lap or two, like they lose a left rear tire, it goes down, and
Jamie
they hit the wall.
McMurray even said it because he's like, oh, Clint, I guess I'm taking over for you, because he had mentioned someone running really well. Might have been Suarez, and then Suarez comes around and he's like, well, Clint, it looks like it's not just you. And like they were like busting each other about it, because yeah, you're right. Every time Clint mentions somebody, it's just bad news for him afterward.
So not only does Chase need to get it together, hey, Clint Boyer, get it together.
That was our best one yet, boys. That was our best one yet.
We're getting better. We're getting it together. How about you, Eric? What's your checkers and records for the weekend?
So it was hard. There was so much that went on during this race. It was a tough week to pick my checkers and records.
Yeah.
I think I've given my checkers to Trackhouse, both the 1 and the 99.
Yeah.
It just goes like they I never thought they would be as good as they are. And they have just been showing me and proving me, like, not wrong, because I knew they were going to do well, but they are blowing my expectations right out of the water. They, Chastain leading a bunch of laps yesterday, had a great car, battling for the lead all day. Suarez was out front, battling for the lead all day. And, Suarez, I could say it just like, our guys, Eric Jones and Tyler Reddick. They run in the top 10, top 5 all day, and then something happens at the end of their race.
Just bad
and
luck.
Suarez is right in there in that camp. And if he finished his races, he might be top 5 in points right now, because they are just running. They're outperforming everybody right now in my eyes. I think they might be the only team, and this is why I have them as like my checkers. Every week they're in contention. Not every team every week has cars like Trackhouse has.
Yeah.
Every week they seem to be up there battling for the lead and for the win. So to me, they are just blowing my expectations out, which on Sunday, Koch 600 for me, this was like the other deciding factor. I wanted to see what Trackhouse could do for 600 miles.
Yeah.
I want to see if Chastain, his aggressiveness, does it get the better of him? It didn't. Suarez, could you take care of your car? And like they just all race long. I'm like, you know what? I'm becoming a believer in this team. And now with the word of the 91 car, like the whole Indy 500 week and all of that, it was just like something about Trackhouse is buzzing, and that you walk into Trackhouse, your life's gonna be better. I feel like they have some kind of magic with them, and they're just performing exceptionally well.
What's funny? In the first podcast we ever did, it was before last year's Daytona 500, right? Before Trackhouse made their official debut.
Is this the lost episode?
It is. It's the lost episode. It never made it to air. We were talking about previewing the different drivers going to the Daytona 500. And Daniel Suarez said, I'm going to be driving the best equipment I've ever been in. And we all laughed at Trackhouse, because how could he be in the best equipment when he drove for Joe Gibbs and Stuart Haas Racing? And sure enough, a year and a half later, he's in the best equipment he's ever been in, for sure. And like you said, like they're always up front. And if it's not both of them, it's at least one of them. If Ross is having a bad day, Daniel's having a great day. If Daniel's having a bad day, Ross is coming in second or winning. Like it's just, and if they're both on fire, they're both in the top 5, top 7,
It's at the point now where I fully expect Daniel Suarez to win a race.
He has to. It has to come.
Expect it. Like, we're not allowed to be surprised when he wins his race this year.
Will he get it before the playoffs? I don't know. Will he get it before the season? I think so. I think he'll get a win eventually. He has to. They're running too well not to. It's just like you said, the luck has to change in completing the race, How about your records? What's your records for the weekend?
Please, for the love of God, tell me why it took him so long to flip that 17 car back on his tires. How long was Chris Buescher sitting in that seat upside down on his head? He rolled 25 times. You think it's going to bother him if you fucking flip it one more turn over on his wheels? Give the kid a friggin' break here. That was a disaster. What are you doing?
I was getting a headache for him because I was like thinking about all that blood just sitting in his head.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, flip him over already.
It hurts here. It makes it hurt right here.
Yeah, like the pit crew. Like, they practice every week. Car comes in, boop, boop, boop. They have a practice. Do these record drivers, NASCAR's got to get a team of people, and they should be every week, they should have a car that gets flipped over out in the outside of the racetrack, and they got to hurry up and go over, and they should be trained on getting a car flipped over in a timely fashion, in a safe fashion. But
is that the thing?
Week I even said it with the toe, how they need to do that. Like, something needs to change on getting these wrecked cars and getting this race started a hell of a lot quicker. And man, I just felt bad for Buescher upside down in that car.
I would have been yelling at them, flip this thing over.
Get it over
out of here.
See, I I mean, it was a long time, but like to play devil's advocate, I was like, oh, they must have to do it for safety. Like they really gently flipped that car back over. Like it was kind of impressive to see once it actually started turning over. Like they did it very smoothly and
but
gently.
if you just blow your tire out, the record comes up, smashes into your car.
Oh
hurry
yeah,
up,
well that's another story.
And then smashes it the whole way back to pit road. They don't give a shit then. Oh,
Right.
but the car's already totaled. Oh, let's baby it over now.
So
But
this
they
is the
way I
destroy
think
a
about
perfectly good one.
This is the way I think about it. If we were at if we were at Eric's house watching a race, right, and someone down the road flipped their car, and 15 of us came running down with the adrenaline, I feel like we can get that car back over in under 5 minutes.
Yeah, but are we going to do it safely where we don't hurt the guy even more who's stuck upside down?
25 fucking times.
I don't know,
Half a
man.
turnover is gonna really mess them up.
Right.
I don't know,
right.
compression on the spine.
On this one.
Listen, I'm not a doctor. I'm not even going to speculate. I'm just saying, I don't know, whatever.
I
It's
just
cool.
feel like some of these people they have on these cleanup crews and these wreckers are kind of like lackadaisical and like,
Yeah.
okay,
They're
here
like,
we
yeah,
go.
let's
Again.
get-
Like a bunch of retired guys that don't want to do anything is
It's
out
true.
there hooking up the car.
It's like the old janitors in high school who are like just retired old, like I feel like volunteer firemen for some reason, just smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll clean it up. We'll get there. Don't worry. You know, just taking their
Oh,
time.
we're at a speedy dry in this truck. Okay, I'll take her out back.
It looked like PennDOT. There was 20 guys standing around just watching this
Right.
car sit on its roof.
Yeah.
For real. I'll get into my checkers and wreckers. I got to get my checkers. Kyle Larson, 9th place finish doesn't tell the story because he was in it to win it up until the wreck with Austin Dillon in the closing lap there. So, and just a fucking horrible start to a race. Like he started in the back because they had to go to a backup car or whatever. Caught on fire, pit road penalties. I mean, his crew chief had to come over and give the whole team a pep talk midway through.
That was going to be my checkers, Whitey, but I knew that this was in yours.
Yeah.
And I was just going to bring up and say it like,
Just-
in my garage, when he got done saying that, my whole garage went silent when it happened.
Yeah, just like
We were listening to the speech.
So tell them.
Over the TV.
Tell the listeners what Cliff Daniels said.
I mean, I don't.
He just gave, I don't remember word for word, but he basically said, listen, this is a long race. The first half of the race is over. We are now in the second half. We're starting better now than we did to start the whole race. So let that go. Don't think about that. We're starting better now. We're in better position. Clear your mind. All that stuff is out. We got a lot more racing to go. So let's buckle up. Let's get this done and get back out there and just basically pumped his driver up. And I got the chills in my garage listening to that because you could tell. Like I go up Larson. I go he better
He's
tighten
ready.
those stuff and go. And you saw in those next 25, 30 laps,
Huge
you just see him
difference.
get it together. And he wow, did he make a difference, that crew chief, with that speech, I think.
I tell you what, that's what I love about the Koch 600. It is so long, you have the chance to make those mistakes and then still come back through
Just like Kyle
strategy.
Busch,
through
we
anything,
mentioned
you know?
earlier, same thing. Have mistakes, come back. This was the perfect race, and I think the car too, with the composite bodies, I was saying all night,
much more forgiving.
everything about that allowed drivers to have incidents and come back at the end. And this is where, I know we talked about it, might be for another time. I don't want to get to the weeds with it, but you need a long race like this every once in a while.
Yeah. No, for sure.
He had a season's worth of problems happen to him before the fourth stage came around. Like legitimately,
No,
how many
for real.
road disasters did he have? How many times did he spin out? How many times was he in some sort of accident? And he came back and he finished 9th and he was in position to win the race. Kudos to him, man. Like that's resilience for a team. That's a championship defending team and a team that's primed to go win another championship because of the resolve that it takes to get through a race like that. Yeah, really cool for that 5 team.
Like he led, how many was it? 51 laps. He was running away with it at the end until my wreckers, Chase Briscoe, drove in too deep again and spun himself out. Thankfully, he didn't take out the leader this time. Austin Dillon did instead on the next restart. But yeah, like Kyle Larson definitely gets my checkers for just fucking persevering, and Chase Briscoe gets my my wreckers, probably because I'm still a little salty from Bristol Dirt. So seeing that move again.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
you are.
Seeing that move again gave me a flashback that I didn't like. But other than that, just a great race, dude, all around. Do you guys want to go over some race notes? See if what's that?
People don't forget.
People don't forget.
Just picture Whitey having flashbacks in his head, just like all these little flashes in his, just like
for real.
Vietnam for Whitey. He just keeps.
It really was. I heard helicopters and shit, and like napalm bombs going
CPRs
on
in the background.
It ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no senator's son. No. Do you guys want to go over some race notes? I just went through the top 10 and some bad luck for some guys. Kyle Busch, we talked about, he spun earlier off the rear of Suarez, just off like the wind there. That was fucking wild, but he made it back to a second place finish. I thought he had a good chance to win the race too. He led 3 times for 36 laps. And like we said, Koch 600, just a great race to be able to rebound. Third place, Kevin Harvick. I feel like I wasn't really paying attention to Harvick all race, and he snuck out a third place finish. Did you guys notice something? Maybe I didn't.
Just Mr.
Veteran, and like he knows how to take care of stuff. I had him in fantasy, and he actually saved my fantasy day for me by having him in.
Man, that's a good fantasy pick. Me and you tied for third overall right now too. It's getting exciting as we get closer to the playoffs. Chase Briscoe survived spinning himself out, got himself a fourth place finish, so that was nice for him. Christopher Bell, strong all day long. Another great top 5 finish. No laps led, but I feel like he was there all night long. Eric, you were watching that 20 car, that Yahoo car.
That threw me off all race, by the way.
It did. New sponsor, like not used
Yahoo
to seeing it.
20, yeah.
But
with me being a Kenseth and then Eric Jones fan in that 20 car, it's memorials to Koch 600. It's been always the DeWalt car with the American flag paint scheme going down the side with DeWalt. And like, I was looking forward to that paint scheme and that DeWalt, with the American flag, how they kind of tie it in. They always make an excellent paint scheme with it. So I agree, Matt. It was, for that race, it was weird to see him in that car.
What did you think about his performance, though?
Oh, dude, all strong all day. I said I was pushing for him. I actually threw one of my T-shirts on that was I would thought it was going to be 20 the DeWalt. It was an Eric Jones number 20 DeWalt shirt, and like I was kind of going for both of them. I had Bell as the winner on the podcast, so he just, he was bad. He was fighting a lot of dirty air, and like there was a couple times where he was gambling and stayed out, got loose, shuffled in 3 wide into the middle, and he kind of lost a bunch of spots on some restarts. But once he got it together, he drove right back in the top 10. And obviously finished top 5 there. So, like you said, Whitey, knocking on the door. I
feel like all those Toyotas were real strong all night long.
In the beginning,
they faded, and then they came back.
The Hendrick Chevys kind of took over. It was Toyotas, Hendrick Chevys, then Trackhouse, and then Larson came back at the end with Hendrick and the Chevys. And with Austin Dillon obviously coming up there. So there was a lot of comers and goers during this race as nightfall came in and the track started to cool down. So right then and there, that added to the racing. And that's what made this race so special as well.
Yeah, Tyler Reddick, he finished 6th place. He led once for 19 laps. He had a rough last stage, though, blew a tire, and then that put him a lap down for a while. Thankfully, his teammate Austin Dillon caused a big one. He was able to get back on the lead lap there for a top 10 finish. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., we talked about him earlier on in the race. Someone that really impressed me all night long, I was noticing him. 8th place, Michael McDowell. He impressed me in qualifying, getting a 10th place in qualifying. I was confused because I was listening to qualifying on the radio. I was like, no way he's doing that good. And then he ran
also had him in my fantasy, which saved me.
Yeah, he ran in the top 15 all day long. I don't think he collected a whole bunch of stage points, but he got himself a top 10 when it counted. And really big congratulations to Michael McDowell. I saw a stat too that Michael McDowell over the last 2 seasons has like more top 10 finishes than Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Bubba Wallace, and I think 2 other drivers. I can't really remember,
So
but
I'm looking at it now, just like going back, like he's had a heck of a stretch here. Besides a couple races.
Oh, this whole season, he's been running really, really consistent.
Kansas, he had a top 10. Like he's running really, like he's running pretty consistently good these recently.
hey, if you're playing DraftKings Daily Fantasy, might be wanting to look at Michael McDowell a little bit more. 9th place, we talked about Kyle Larson in my checkers. He led for 3 times for 51 laps. Alex Bowman came in 10th. He was one of those guys, I feel like I saw him running really well in the beginning and then kind of faded throughout the middle of the race and then and kind of came back for the end. He got stage points in stage 1, nothing in stage 2. I can't remember stage 3 for sure. But really not a whole lot from Bowman, just a nice consistent day.
Good looking car.
Great looking car. Yeah. Love that Ally patriotic scheme. I thought that one looked really sharp. Let's see. Ross Chastain, he led 6 times for 153 laps, battling for the lead. And when that big one with him, Larson, Austin Dillon, and Denny Hamlin sent him back a few spots. Another bad luck, Chris Buescher with that barrel roll. We talked about him. Bubba and Chase were both victims of the damaged vehicle policy.
Yeah, one thing I do want to touch on with that barrel roll incident is that we almost had a disaster as far as a PR nightmare for NASCAR is concerned, because Clint Boyer said, "Oh, I think," before like we slowed the replay down and we saw that it was the wheel that flipped Busch's car over.
Yeah,
Clint Boyer goes, "Oh, he caught a grate. He caught a
drainage ditch."
Could you imagine if that was the case and that's what flipped the car over? That would have been totally unacceptable.
I thought the drainage ditch broke the tire and that's what caused it all.
No, the tire was already broken to begin with.
Okay.
And it went from when it was the asphalt to the turf.
Yeah.
And then just the momentum, the tire it caught.
Like the axle snap. Someone asked too on Twitter, I saw a question on Twitter, why that doesn't count as a loose wheel. And it's because the tether was there. The axle snapped and there's a tether that holds everything together. The loose wheel penalties, when they come off, it's because they come off the actual hub assembly.
Right, when your car is flipping and your wheel comes off, kind of not your fault.
But if it comes off the wheel, if it comes off the hub assembly, it is. Because the hub.
Really? So if that wheel popped off while he was rotating and flipping, that would have been a penalty.
I think so. Because
that's not the
case. Because the tether is there to keep the wheel on. If you look at any wreck where people are flipping, like you don't see the wheels come off because of that tether that holds them in. But like if it came off of the actual hub assembly, I think it happened to Bubba in 2020 or 2019. I forget what year. It was at Indianapolis where his wheel came off. The whole entire hub assembly came out of the axle shaft and rolled off, and he got that penalty. Yeah, it still counts because that tether broke off and rolled. But yeah, bad luck for Chris Buescher in that barrel roll. Bad luck for Bubba too. Did we talk about it on the podcast or was it before the show?
No, that was before the show. We could talk about that.
So Bubba and Chase were both victims of the damaged vehicle clock. Matt talked about Chase and his wreckers. Bubba, his car was fine. According to the crew chief, it was an oversight. They didn't realize they were on the damaged vehicle policy. They were trying to save tires so he wasn't pushing it, and they never made minimum speed for NASCAR in those 6 minutes. And he ended up having to end his day. So, I mean, a lot of bad luck for Bubba, especially when it comes to the crew and the pit crew and everything.
I'll tell you what,
such a good car. Like he honest to God had one of the top 3 cars up until all that stuff went down. His car was even good after the couple incidents that he got in. Yeah. His car was still pretty fast. So yeah, it was a shame to see it end like that.
That 23 crew, that whole pit crew up to the crew chief needs to get it together.
For real.
I think Denny might have smacked some people around. Yeah. I think he had a good stern talk with
Denny. What about MJ, man? Could you imagine the presence of MJ walking into your shop and being like, "Yo, what's going on? I need an explanation for what everybody is doing around here," because they keep screwing him left and right. You want to talk about a guy who's knocking on the door, who could easily win a race this year. None of us are allowed to be surprised. It's Bubba Wallace.
Yeah.
And if he keeps getting screwed like this, it's not going to happen. And I feel so bad for him because he's there, man. He's got the speed.
That's, you know what, Matt, you bring up a great point that I just thought of. Like, is Denny doing too much as part owner? And should MJ, is he not doing enough?
Right.
Should MJ be at that shop more, rubbing off with that, like,
MJ's the money
when you're
guy.
that type of an athlete and you're Michael Jordan, you're LeBron, you're Tom Brady, there is something about you that rubs off on people that you just exude. And like, I think that goes a long way if he maybe goes to the race shop a little more often. And, when you just get bullshit with a great like that, just your mentality changes a little bit. So maybe MJ needs to step it up and get down to that race shop a little more.
When you're like you just said, when you're Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, some of these all-time greats, God love him, if Dale Earnhardt Sr. was still alive, when you walk into a place, you're automatically the most powerful, well-known, most respected human being in that building. Where if you came in like a Michael Jordan comes in and has a chat with that crew, do you think that's going to drive home the point to them like, hey, we need to step our shit up? More than
fire me up.
I think it would.
I'd want to do my best.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he's not doing enough, and maybe he's just the figurehead. Whitey's probably right. He is probably just the money, but
he's the money guy.
Maybe it would take him coming in to really get that crew straightened out.
I forgot to make my tinfoil hat for this episode, but I'm gonna put a tinfoil hat on, and it's a hat I've worn for 2 years now, ever since 2311 opened up. I've been saying it. They're not getting Gibbs quality equipment or team members. They're getting the same old Levine family racing garbage that we saw in that 95 car. I know they were getting the 95 car cup cars last year for until I'm proven otherwise, I will go to my grave convinced that Joe Gibbs is not giving them what they want or need, and that's the problem. Because you want to know what? Joe Gibbs is never going to let another team that he's supporting run better than him after Furniture Row won a championship with Martin Truex Jr. You saw him raise the prices and drive Furniture Row out of racing altogether. You saw him do it to Levine Family Racing, and honestly, I just think
you can't do it with this new car. I don't think you could do it. Look at Trackhouse. You mean to tell me that
they're leasing their pit crew from Joe Gibbs Racing. Why aren't they hiring their own pit crew guys? Why do they need Joe Gibbs Racing to give them pit crew guys? Like, figure it out. Get it together.
Together.
Like, at this point with the new car, if you have a shop, there's no reason to have the alliance with Joe Gibbs that you have right now. We saw with Trackhouse. Trackhouse was aligned with RCR. They bought Chip Ganassi Racing's building and stuff. They got right out of it, and they're doing just fucking fine. You get your own engineers, get your own pit crews, get all that stuff. I'm convinced that Gibbs is tanking 2311, and there's nothing that'll change my mind on that one until I see an improvement.
I could tinfoil hat on top of that, where like maybe I could see from this angle, maybe Gibbs is doing that to try to force Denny out.
Maybe
maybe he's trying to squeeze Denny out so he could get Ty in there, and then say, "Hey, Denny, you started your own team. We've had a great relationship. It's going to end amicably." And like say, "Hey, I think you should maybe just go." And maybe Denny does get a third car. He runs it. Bubba runs it. Kurt Busch runs it, and then that becomes their own. Like you're saying, Whitey, they get their own. Engineers and car chiefs and pit crew and all of that. So I guess from that angle, maybe I could see it like a squeeze out.
I would love to see it.
The problem with your theory here is, and I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah,
I really truly am, because I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying, but just as a devil's advocate side of things, like they have the speed. 2311.
Oh yeah.
They've got the speed. I mean, Kurt Busch just won 3 weeks ago. They've got the speed. They've got the potential. But the crews that they have, or at least that 23 crew, like I just mentioned,
the 45 crew has just as many problems.
Sucking.
Yeah,
consistently sucking.
And they leased the pit crew from Joe Gibbs. Like those are all the rejects from the fucking 18, 17, or 19, 20, and 19. The 11 car.
11.
So I don't know, man. I'm just
the whole like pit crew thing is weird too, because the Cup guys, they do Xfinity and trucks. So there's only a couple, to be honest with you.
There's only a
pit crew.
couple great pit crews.
Yeah, and like they travel around to other teams. Like there's people that ran for Keselowski who would run for a completely different team in the trucks on Friday. You know, like so those guys make their way around, and it just seems like maybe NASCAR should do a little bit more as far as advertising and getting people into that as a job. Like, you know, why aren't more people interested in becoming
on the teams, though?
I think the teams recruit and stuff.
Yeah,
but where do you even like? That's what I'm saying. Like, where do you even recruit if you're a team? Like, oh yeah, let me just go find some guys and say I'm going to make you into all-star pit crew. Like,
no, they do.
Where do you even get those guys?
They have recruiters. They have recruiters, just like you know, the Jets have recruiting for college. Each team, each of the major teams, anyway. I don't know about the smaller organizations, but they have recruiters.
They'll go find guys like that get cut from the practice squad of an NFL team. Like, hey, you want to try?
Like, where are they getting them from? Where are they recruiting these people from?
From
just
like
practice. Just said.
Yeah, like they get cut from a practice squad on an NFL team. They're like, hey, you're a pretty big dude. Like, you want to give this a try? Like, come to our training camp. And then they'll train. Listen, I've brought this up a lot of times. If you go on Crackle, which is a free streaming service, there's a docuseries. It's like a 6-part docuseries on Hendrick Motorsports called Race Day. It's not Drive to Survive, but it's something along those lines. If you search Hendrick Motorsports documentary on Crackle, it'll come right up. But they follow the pit crew guys and like some of the recruiting class, like they show people like coming in and testing out with the team, like to see if they could make it. And they cut a shit ton of guys and send them home. And like some of those guys are coming back the next year where like it's kind of like when they go out for the practice squad and stuff.
I'll tell you what, I think we just stumbled upon something, and we're going into the weeds and we'll continue on with the show here. But like, you want to make these guys popular because we have the All-Star race and we've you know, we're trying to popularize these pit crew guys, these warriors that keep the show running. Why not have like a reality TV show about recruiting, about making the teams, about staying on the teams, about what these guys go through, what does their daily lives look like, what does training look like? I think that could be riveting. But anyway,
it's called Road to Race Day on Crackle. It's free to stream with some like advertisements, but it does just that, Matt. It shows that but you're right. It's kind of like what's the HBO docuseries with the NFL? Hard Knocks. Yeah. It's like do a Hard Knocks for NASCAR, you know? Yeah. Like Eric, you talk about the one female pit crew member, the tire changer all the time. She has her own branding and stuff because she's big on Instagram and stuff.
Brandy, what's her
something like that.
Bree.
It's something. But like, why isn't there a series following her? You know, I know she's on a backmarker team and stuff, but like, just follow all these people. That's what we need, especially to draw in some younger fans and everything. Get on a streaming service.
Hard Knocks style show would be phenomenal for NASCAR.
Yeah, I tell you what though, watch that Road to Race Day on Crackle. It's phenomenal. Like it really opens your eyes up to the day to day. And you want to watch Race on Netflix with Bubba Wallace. That really opens your eyes up to like team meetings and stuff with 2311 and everything. But that's all I have for race notes, man. I feel like we went through a lot of stuff. Austin Cindric wrecked out. He spun on his own.
Shit day.
Blaney spun twice. Just real bad luck. Suarez led for 4 times, 36 laps. Like we said, man, Trackhouse on fire. And then he got taken out by an accident. Austin Dillon, big run near the end there. Do you want to jump into last place?
Sir.
Man, this guy's having a rough weekend. Every podcast likes to talk about the winner, Denny Hamlin, on a Monday or Tuesday. Here on the Bumper Run podcast, though, we'd like to highlight the loser of the race, the person that came in last place, and that was one Ryan Preece. He made it 16 laps on Sunday night before getting loose, exiting 4. Actually, pretty ironic. Chris Buescher got turned around right behind him, and they made contact with each other. So Chris Buescher's day was rough from the start, too.
Whoever, I think I just thought of something here. Whoever gets the most last places at the end of the season gets the Get It Together award from the Bump and Run podcast.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'll have to start tabulating on a spreadsheet at work, get an Excel spreadsheet going. But yeah, that's the last place driver, Ryan Preece. Of course, we talked about him this year running part-time for Stewart. Well, he has He's working for Stewart Haas Racing as like a backup driver and simulator work, and then he's running part-time in the Xfinity and trucks and with Rick Ware Racing. This was a Rick Ware Racing race, and he spun out.
Yep. Guys, we're running head first into silly season here too. Now that the summer is here, we're about to hit silly season time.
Yeah, it's about to get exciting. I know we had a little taste of it with Kyle Busch and whatnot so far. Martin Truex Jr., no clue what he's going to be doing at the end of the year. Yep. Gibbs is going to be interesting. But yeah, that's all I have for the race weekend. Do you guys want to jump into the pickle lanes, make it really quick because we're running out of time quick here. Choose Cone is out. I got 2 topics. I saw this one on Twitter. Ross Chastain isn't a playoff contender. That was a hot take from a user on Twitter. What do you guys think about that?
Probably the worst hot take I've ever read in my entire life.
Yeah.
Like someone that has 2 wins and just absolutely can't finish anywhere outside of the top 5. Like he's just constantly in the top, like, and he's not a contender.
Not only is Ross a playoff contender, but these teams better be careful because if they're not, they're going to be watching Ross Chastain lift a trophy at the end of this season as our champion.
Yeah.
That's how serious Ross Chastain needs to be taken because he's consistently running up front. He's got his 2 wins so far this season. He's not going anywhere, and he's one of the top 4 best drivers right now in the season so far. So I think it was one of the most asinine things. That guy probably doesn't watch a lot. That guy or girl, whoever made that comment, probably doesn't watch a lot of racing.
Yeah.
Probably saw that Ross, a new name up top that he doesn't recognize.
And he's like, he's not legit. He's only running second in points. I responded. I go, how? He's got more top 5s than anyone else at this point. Second in top 10 finishes and is tied for most wins. Unless he falls off dramatically, how could he not be a contender? The person responded. This was the response. I feel like Ross's aggressiveness and no experience in cup playoffs will cost him. Someone else jumped in and goes, I think the aggressiveness will help in the playoffs.
Yes.
I totally agree, especially when you get deep into the playoffs. It's like you do whatever you can to survive. And I feel like Ross Chastain is hungry for more watermelons.
Joey Logano is almost always in contention to make the Final Four or does make the Final Four. And it's because he's the most aggressive driver we've got on the circuit.
For real. Until Ross Chastain starts getting into it with him and shows him who's boss. I agree. I think Ross Chastain, especially at this point, is a serious playoff contender. If not, like, I know early prediction, we called Ryan Blaney is going to be the your champion, but I mean, man, how can you not look at Ross Chastain right now? Next one, someone asked this on Reddit. Does NASCAR need to make points matter more throughout the regular season?
I mean, I think the point system is fine. I mean, we're having a tight battle the way it is. I don't think they need to matter more. I think people get that idea in their head because NASCAR advertises a win as like the ultimate thing in the world, which I get it. It is. It's hard to win in Cup. But when it comes to making the playoffs or not, a win necessarily, to me, as an Eric Jones fan in the last couple of years, we tried as a team and Eric as a driver to get that win. And I feel like I would yell at my TV every week and be like, stop going for the win and just come away with a great points day and go for stage points because those are critical at the end of the season. If you don't win one race and you think you can win, okay, big deal. But if you go for that win multiple week after week after week and you're losing out on all of these possible points, pushing that limit for a win, man, I was so frustrated for years, yelling, just go for points. Points. And yeah, everyone wants to see their driver win. But sometimes when you know your team doesn't have the caliber to get up there and maybe get that win, you could still point your way into the playoffs. And most of the time, those drivers don't really go anywhere or do anything to points their way in because it shows that they can't win. And in the championship, you need to win in order to advance. Yeah. You need to have that fire in you. But I still think points is very, very important. And the battles alone that we follow, to talk about storylines, points, I love a good points battle.
Yeah, points are everything. It's, we're coming off of a race where it gave out the most points you get in an entire race in one season. And, that's why I was so upset with Chase Elliott for being so aggressive and getting knocked out of the race so early, is because he's missing out on so many more point opportunities, especially when you're in the lead with points. They're so important.
Yeah.
And to risk, I don't want to, this is a different conversation for a different time, but, to risk not changing up the qualifiers and how to get into the playoffs, because we've had that conversation. I'm sure we'll have that conversation in the future. I'm not trying to do that, but instead of wins, like Eric just said, focus on points. If a team can focusing on, finishing inside the top 10 at the end of those stages, getting points, then you're going to be, well, if you're a team that doesn't necessarily know if you're going to be able to get a win before race 27, where the playoffs start, then maybe points is where you have to pay attention. And there are ample opportunities to get points. You're given points 3 different times during a race, if you're lucky, if you're racing up front. So, running position in points is as crucial as ever. So it's not a points problem at all right now.
I personally struggle with this because my driver is usually right on that cutoff line with the playoff
and he
battle.
is right now.
And he is right now. And I love those battles. I love watching the points battle. And I love when it comes down to 2 points and you're like, man, if you just had a better finish in the second race of the year, like you could have made it into the playoffs. The thing that kills me though is when guys who are in like 20th win a race, like just as a fluke or whatever. And then it pushes those guys that have just been more consistent out of the playoffs. Like right now, like Kurt Busch is 20th in points. He deserved that win, but like he's been struggling for a lot of this season. Austin Cindric won the Daytona 500, automatically locked in. He's sitting 19th in points. Denny Hamlin has 2 wins and he's sitting 17th in points. I'm looking at Eric Jones in 16th. I'm saying Eric Jones deserves a playoff run a little bit more, I think, than Austin Cindric or Kurt Busch do. Austin Dillon, 15th in points. Eric Almirola, 14th in points. Kevin Harvick, 11th in points without a win right now. You go over to the playoff grid, and right now, Kevin Harvick's on the cut line with Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick because they don't have wins yet, even though they're in, 10th, 12th, and whatever places in the regular point standings. You look over to the playoff, and they're barely in. They're just trying to survive. And then Eric Jones and Austin Dillon are on the outside looking in as like, I don't know. It makes for fun storylines, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I'm kind of over the win you're in.
All I keep hearing right now in my head is Steve Letarte breaking down the playoff battle with 2 races left in the regular season. And I cannot wait for that, because he's the best in the business to do it.
He does. I do love watching the playoff battle. I do. It's just, I don't know, man. It sucks. Like right now we have 11 different winners. There's only 5 open spots to point your way in, and it's getting tougher and tougher to do every week.
These are the races where you get those 3-4 extra points here and there. So when it comes down to race 26 in Daytona, you're hoping you don't get caught up in a big one. You hope, you've got enough points built up where you're okay. You're in a safe place. This is the point in the season right here, right now, where points are as important as ever.
And I feel like they're not talking about it in the NASCAR broadcast enough.
Right.
But hey, that's Fox.
It's because the win is everything to them. And like, I get it, like I said before, but I would be okay if they got rid of the win and you're in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I would be too. Like I said, I didn't want to risk jumping into that conversation. Yeah, but I have that written down in my notes. I'd be okay with that.
I would like to see in the playoffs you win in a round, you automatically advance. But I would like to see it just a points based going into the playoffs. I think maybe a little hybrid action. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that.
All right, let's move it along because we got a new track to talk about. We're heading to 2 new tracks actually this week. New track for the Cup Series, Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. Of course, Xfinity and Trucks no strangers to that. Trucks will be at Gateway. Xfinity is heading to Portland International Raceway. That's a road course. Trucks Saturday 1:30 on FS1 for the Toyota 200. Xfinity 4:30 on FS1 for the Pacific Office Automation 147, and then Cup Sunday 3:30 on FS1 for the Enjoy Illinois 300 presented by Ticket Smarter. And because it is a new racetrack for Cup Series, we are getting a full Cup practice, 50 minutes practice Friday night at 5:05, and then qualifying Saturday morning at 11. I'm excited to see Gateway and the Cup cars. How about you guys?
I can't wait.
I've actually been itching to get to a road course, to be honest with you.
Well, Gateway's not a road course. Portland's a road course. Gateway is
oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so Xfinity's at the road course this week.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cups at Gateway, it's got long stretches and then
like
tight turns. It does.
It looks a little like Darlington. I'll get into it. I'll get into why I just said that, but
okay, yeah, because one end is bigger than the other. It's a mile track, right?
It's 1.25.
Okay, so we only raced it in NASCAR heat on the trucks, and I always did real bad in the trucks. I'm a terrible short track racer, but always looked forward to watching the truck series on television, and I'm looking forward to getting into the bets right now. To recap our picks from Charlotte, I won. I picked Denny Hamlin. He got me 41 points. Eric picked Christopher Bell. He also got you 41 points. Big point day for Christopher Bell. And William Byron was Matt's pick. He got you 5 points due to that wreck early on with Ryan Blaney. Now, because me and Eric are tied, and I won last week, I'm gonna go last. I'll concede and give you the second pick. So Matt picks first, Eric picks second, and I'll pick last because I picked that winner last week.
So are we going into the picks, or do you want me to give the betting lines?
Give us the betting lines, and then we'll jump into the picks.
Okay, so very quick. I know we're short on time here. The betting lines are brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. The top 10 odds-on favorites from the bottom down. We'll start with Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick are both tied at a plus 1,200 odds. Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, and William Byron all have the same odds, plus 1,000. Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., teammates over at Joe Gibbs Racing, both tied at plus 900. And then Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson, again, the two Kyles are your favorites. Both are at plus 800. Now, this is being recorded Tuesday night, so those odds are going to change, especially after practice and qualifying. Those are really, really good odds for, and I believe that our winner is going to come from within that group that I just mentioned. So really, really good odds, a real good chance to win some good money there if you feel strongly about someone. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and make my pick because William Byron got me 5 lousy points this week. So Gateway is a 1.25 mile track. The closest possible comparison to that we've seen so far, the Cup guys on, is Darlington. It's a similar layout and similar track size. Darlington is 1.33 miles. So I am forced to go ahead and look at what happened at Darlington. And I saw one guy that stood out. His average running position was a 2.4. He led the most laps at Darlington, and his driver rating was 138.5. And oh, by the way, he also won the race. I'm going with the 22 Pennzoil Shell Ford from Penske Racing, Joey Logano.
Interesting. Okay. How about you, Eric? Who are you picking to win at Gateway?
I'm going with somebody that I haven't picked yet this year as a winner. I'm going with somebody that I've been watching closely these last couple of weeks get better and better and better and figure out this car. And, I think it's time that Kevin Harvick gets back into victory lane this week.
I can see it.
Very interesting. So Matt sent some alternative stats earlier in the group text. Because trucks and Xfinity have been in their past, we do have some winner data. The most recent winner in the trucks was Ross Chastain in 2019. Justin Haley has a win there. Christopher Bell has a win there. Cole Custer, Bubba Wallace, and Kevin Harvick all have wins there. So Harvick was a good pick there. And I was looking at that, and one name stood out. I mentioned him earlier. Eric picked him to win this past week at Charlotte. I'm going with Christopher Bell. He's just been running so consistently in the top 10 and top 5. The win's coming, and I think it's coming this weekend at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Hey, guys, not to pour salt in the wound or anything, but the first weekend in June, and we're not going to Pocono. I just thought about that. I just thought about that. That stinks.
I would have picked Bell for Pocono also. Just throwing that out there.
I probably would have went hometown hero with my boy in the 43 car.
Yeah.
It does suck, but we got some great racing coming up in July. I already got my camping ticket. Very excited. Bought a new tent. I'm pumped to try that bad boy out. I haven't unboxed it yet. But how about those? How about the head-to-heads? We have time for some head-to-heads. You have
couple minutes here. Okay, so we've got the head-to-heads as well.
We keep forgetting the head-to-heads, and I apologize. Every week we hang up, and I go, "God damn it, I forgot those head-to-heads."
Yeah, let's roll with this. So 2 young guns are our first head-to-head matchups, both at -110 odds, again provided by DraftKings Sportsbook. Ross Chastain versus William Byron. You can't go wrong with either one of them, really. Ross Chastain is just consistently running well. I'm rolling with Ross Chastain. He's won at Worldwide Technology Raceway, so I'm going with him based off that.
I'm going with the 24 of Slick Willie 2 clocks.
I'm going with Ross Chastain. I'm going with him.
Okay. Next one, Whitey, you got some skin in the game. It is Tyler Reddick versus Trace Briscoe. Tyler Reddick is -130 odds. He is the big-time favorite against Chase Briscoe, who's +110. Reddick's just running better when he's staying out of the grass. I'm going with Tyler Reddick.
Hey, he passed 2 people in that grass. I'm going with Tyler Reddick, too.
Yeah, I got that 8 car as well.
And then you've got Denny Hamlin versus Kyle Larson, 2 guys who we might start seeing throughout the summertime going head-to-head a lot more often. I think both of them are hot.
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin coming off of a win. Kyle Larson, a wheelman. Denny's never been here in the Cup Series. Well, no one has. I'm rambling too much. I'm going with Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I'm going with Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, I'm going with Denny, too. Taking the hot hand here.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like Toyo has been too strong recently not to.
Fair, very fair. Last one, Christopher Bell versus Alex Bowman. Christopher Bell -115 and Alex Bowman -105. So Christopher Bell, the slight favorite. Joe Gibbs Racing, it has kind of figured it out the last few weeks. And for that reason, I am going to go with Christopher Bell.
Well, I took Denny Hamlin before this. And speaking of Denny Hamlin, I'm going to take the hack.
Wow, going with Bowman. I picked him to win. I got to go Christopher Bell on this one.
It just seems like one of those races that Bowman's just going to be like, okay, Bowman just won that race. All right.
We will see this Sunday. We are 14 races in. We have 11 different winners. Of course, Austin Cindric, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, William Byron with 2, Ross Chastain with 2, Denny Hamlin now with 2, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, and Kurt Busch all locked themselves into the playoffs. Can Christopher Bell do it this week in Gateway? Will Joey Logano get win number 2? Or will it be...
Kevin Harvick.
Or will it be Kevin Harvick, the veteran, locking himself into the playoffs?
It was a hard weekend.
It was a hard weekend, and hopefully this weekend is a great weekend at a new track all around for the Cup Series and Xfinity Series. We'll find out Cup this Sunday, 3:30 on FS1 for the Enjoy Illinois 300 at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, and we will break it all down for you Monday night, back to our regularly scheduled time. We had to enjoy the holiday weekend while we can. For Matt, the stat man Reilly. For Eric, Daytona Ron. I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night and go check out the new Top Gun.